Hello, Just Jax here and welcome to my channel. And today we're going to have a little play with clarity and insertion, especially after the mixed results with the ghosties. So I have got a little rosebud here that's been drying out on the windowsill. A little paper rose to try. And this is a test. I purchased these recently. I want to see if I can pop a light in. Now, this might not all get done in the one, and this is just going to be simply a test to see if I can get it in there and it not affect. Now, these ones are off the camera right now. These ones are meant to be waterproof. And now, I'd imagine that's only to a degree because I can see a little tiny gap in there. So I'm thinking if it goes in that far, then we'll still have access to the switch and it shouldn't flood, in theory. And I'm also hoping you can hear me fine because I've got my mask on, because I've got my hot air gun out, because I'm expecting there to be bubbles, and I'm going to try my best to get this in the middle of this sphere without bubbles. This one will be a bit easier because it's not very heavy, so I'll be able to just let it sit and then fill up around it. So let's try the tricky one first. So I have everything to hand. I've got my light, I've got my torch, I've got my heat gun. Let's see if we can get this to work. Now, I was trying to briefly, before I got set up, make a little rig to hold this in place. I couldn't. It just wanted to fall through, tip this way, tip that way, tip the other way. So I'm going to try and get a really, really, really steady hand and hold it there while it sets. So let's get a little UV resin in there first. Now, I'm not going to fill all but perhaps a quarter way up. Now, I was going to try and pop this in rosebud down, but I think it will create less bubbles if I put it where the stem was down. Now, currently, there are no bubbles in there. So let's get this to hand. And let's very carefully put that in just enough and hold it there. Try not to wobble, try not to lift up or down, try not to do anything. That includes laughing, so I've got to control myself. Even just a little chuckle will make my whole body move. Right, there might be a bubble. Might be. Let's try filling it up to about halfway. Now this is where I'll pop the heat gun on it for a moment, because I know there will be bubbles. So I'm just going to pause this for a second because you will not hear a sausage over that going. Right, I believe all the bubbles are gone. I saw a couple come up and pop, so we're going to go straight with curing this half, and then we'll flash forward, pop the lid on, which has got a dinky tiny little hole there. Fill that up, give it another blast with a heat gun, because there will be bubbles, and then let it go to town with the UV light, and then we'll see what happens. So, okay, that is done enough. If we can pop the lid on, like so, get resin on our fingers. I brought gloves down as well. Such a wonker. Wonker? Plonker. I wasn't trying to say anything else. Oh, I've created a leak by putting too much pressure on it. I keep coming up the hole. That's why it's oozing out. Right. Let's just, so I can see bubbles. I'll just pause this. Okay, it is full. It's just in the curing process. I think, despite best efforts, we might not have bubbles at the bottom, but I think we're going to have quite a few bubbles right at the top. I've yet to master how to prevent that, especially when using such a diddy hole. There might not be, but I'm quite sure there's a cluster F of bubbles right where my finger's pointing. But we'll find out. We'll come back when it's fully cured. It's going to have a few zaps under there, a bit of rotating going down. And I'll have to crack the bottom away, because the bottom hopefully hasn't attached to the table and seeped through the paper. We'll find out. That'll be another job for me to try and deal with. Okay, it's reveal time. Let's see how bubbly this is. That did stick to the table a little bit, but thankfully the paper stopped it from sticking too much. Right, let's try. Let's break off all this spillover. Yes. It was going so well until we got to the top. Can you see all those bubbles? It was going so well. Well, I say that, we haven't even looked at the bottom yet. Let's try and break the bottom free. Okay, perhaps it wasn't going so well. Right, we have still yet to master the art of bubble reduction. Shallow pieces, we're doing alright. I think you can tell I can be a bit of a picker when it comes to this stuff. You're like, oh, just get that little bit, and just that little bit, just that little bit. Let's put it down. Right. Let's bust off the seam. That's so thin it will just break off. We'll do a bit of tidy up work in a moment, because we'll have to get rid of that. Now, it's fully cured, so that's good. Here's where the problem lies. We would have had a nice bud, a nice rose bud in the middle of a sphere. Now, see all around here, all nice and clear, no bubbles. No bubbles. Then at the bottom, we've got like a bubble explosion. I once caught a moon fart in resin. Now I've caught a rosebud fart. Look at all that. It's like a jacuzzi. And then again at the top, you can see where the issue took effect. See, it's pretty clear. I think we can see through the camera anyway. Bubble. It's pretty clear. I mean, it's a sphere, so it's not going to come out. I'm not going to be able to see through it straight like a flat piece. Bring that edge back as much as we can before sanding and smoothing. I have got my mask on. Yes, I think I'll have to saw that nipple off. And I have since purchased, you can see how battered this board here is. I've since purchased some better ones of these as well. And I will be getting some more sandpaper in, so we can do a video that's just all about cleanup. So I haven't done any major cleanup yet. Not everything's needed it, but things like this, I'm going to need to learn how to do that. And I've been reading it's like a wet and dry process. Well, we'll save the clear up for another day. Did we succeed with the floating rose? No, we've got more bubbles in that than we did with the ghost. If I get one of those to hand. Ghosty, only got a couple of bubbles in the sockets. And the odd one or two here or there. Rosebud, pretty much, it's top and bottom bubble. It's top and bottom bubble. Which is fine if I wanted that effect, but today I was really trying to go bubble free. So that didn't happen. I think we will save the paper flower for another day. We could try the light now, whilst we've got a mess on our hands. Let's try the light now, see if that, just half filled, and that's got to just have that in there. I wonder if, did I leave the lollipop sticks out? I did. I wonder if this will be able to hold that with the aid of blue tack, which I just so happen to have. Let's see if we can get this to be held where we want it. Right, let's just see, whilst we've got everything out. Oh yeah, let's try that as well, actually. We're not going to get carried away. I mean, we sort of are, but we sort of aren't at the same time. We're up to about there. Because I don't want the blue tack to be in there. Go a tiny bit more. Let's put one droplet. The colour in there. Give it a swirl. Going really slowly so as not to add bubbles. Give it a little heat. Pop this in the centre. Cure it. I'm going to clear up a little bit. We'll come back and we'll see if that worked. Alright, let's see if this worked. Well, it's in there. I need a tiny blast on the bottom. Let's just let that have a tiny blast on the bottom. Shouldn't need long. That's it. Well, at the moment it looks like a bit like a mushroom. Does the light still work? The light works. We've got a little pulsating mushroom. and it's bubble free. That could be used for something, especially if we built up something around the bottom to actually make it look like a mushroom. That's actually cool. So as long as we can even afford to go up a little bit further, because I think as long as we stay away from that hole there, we can see it. As long as we stay away from that little tiny hole there, I think we'll always be good. That looks really cool. I think there is perhaps a tiny bubble there. But compared to this, which I have tried my best, I'm going to have to work at two things. Getting no bubbles in the sphere, in the big objects that are going to have floatables in them. And polishing, because that is far from... You can see where it hasn't been polished. It's clear to cloudy. So I'm going to have a look online and do a bit of more research on how best to buff up. So I tried using this. Well, I tried wet sandpaper to begin with, and it wasn't much better than that. So then I tried all the different stages on this. And I think I'm still missing a trick, unless it's because I needed to do that with wet as well. And I'm pretty sure I've seen there's like resin buffer kits you can buy with like polishing agent. So it may be a case of investing in one of those. So this is far from a success. I mean, it's a success in the sense that it has cured and that there is a rosebud in the middle of it that you can not really any longer see. It was not a success in the sense of a bajillion bubbles erupting out the top, and you can't hardly see them anymore because I tried to polish, and a bajillion bubbles coming out of its bottom. So we've also got a rose farting. Well, you know who to come to if you want something cast in resin and you want to capture it farting. Just Jax is your woman. This, more of a success. Not having my hand wibble around played a part. So setting up a little rig with whatever I can find, in this instance lollipop sticks and blue tack, to hold it perfectly in place. Little to no bubbles. Like I say, I think there's like one tiny bubble there. As opposed to, I can't count how many bubbles. I also know that this was a rosebud, so even though it was a closed bud, I know there would still be a degree of air trapped in between the petals. And that is quite possibly why so many came up out. Also, it may have paid to try and do that, especially the second half. The first half just needed to be stuck in place with blue tack and lollipop sticks. The second half I think I needed to do in very small incremental layers, so like perhaps a quart of that half, and heat it so all the air could come out from amongst the petals, and then rinse and repeat. So there we go, mixed results, but I'm very happy with my little light up mushroom. That's really cool, and I'll be buying more of these lights. I think they were like £4 for 20. They're so much fun. I'm going to have a lot of fun playing with those in different ways and making more light up joys. Like, I can drop a hint now. I have got it's a small resin project, but it's big in its pieces. I have got a carousel to try and put together, and I'm looking forward to that. So that is going to be one of the up and coming resin projects, and I want to try and incorporate lights into that, because that would make it even more fun. I'm unsure how or where, but I do want to incorporate lights into that. So that's something to look forward to. So that all being said, thank you so much for stopping by and checking me and my channel out. I do hope you've enjoyed this, the successes and the failures. Like if you like what you see, comment if you've got something to say, and subscribe if you really like what you see and you want to see more and know when it's coming. Thank you all again so much. Take care and see you in the next one.